Hello, so today we are talking about how mature is your HTTPS implementation. Most of you have probably heard about HTTPS, are using it, but maybe you don't know all the tips you can implement it. So first, questions, why to use HTTP and why to use HTTPS. HTTPS is able to allowing you to improve your security and privacy in your website. Yeah, quite strange problem with the micro, but we'll continue. So, if you are using Firefox, you could see that in the last versions, they implement new a pop-up that will display you a warning message if you enter your credentials on an HTTP website. If you are doing some business and you want to have a good ranking in Google, HTTPS will help you also to improve your ranking. And moreover, you will be part of a community that will make the internet safer by using HTTPS. What are the main risks to use HTTP only? Problems of confidentiality. Some bad guy could sniff your login and password, your credentials, but also the data that are transported over the network. Problem about integrity. Manipulations about the data transported about the network. We planned some game, so there are some interactive slides with the questions, and the first person that will answer with will give the good answers. We bring some gift. The slide in questions are pinned, so if you see the pinned, pay attention. Let's now talk about the HTTP threats. The typical one, passive spoofing if it's dropping with rogue access points, passive spoofing on network and telecom equipment, like SpanSport, man-in-the-middle attack, RP poisoning, you have an equivalent for IPv6. Something quite innovative, this small device, Raspberry Pi Zero, with poison tap softwares. You plug it on your computer victims in USB. It will emulate an Ethernet device over USB. It's running a DHCP and DNS traffic, and it will force the different websites to connect over HTTP, and they will try to hijack your login passwords and session cookies. What can a bad guy do? Injecting some content in your web page, redirect you or your users to a phishing website, stealing your login and passwords, stealing your cookies of your existing sessions, and replacing the files you are downloading with some malwares. Now let's see the different HTTPS implementations. In the years 90s, typically we were seeing a lot of websites doing the implementation of HTTPS only for the login page. So for the login page, your authentication, you are putting your credentials over HTTPS, but after you were redirected in HTTP and the rest of your website was in pure HTTP. Do you think it's a secure architecture? Okay. I think you were the first one. We will bring you some gift after the talk. So indeed, it's insufficient and insecure architectures, and it's possible indeed to sniff your cookie, and we will maybe get your login and passwords, but we can still hijack your current session. Then let's go to full HTTPS implementation. So you are doing your authentication in HTTPS, and the rest of the website is protected also by HTTPS. It will mitigate the passive spoofing, but will it mitigate all the cases? Indeed, you have some gift. It will not always mitigate all the man-in-the-middle attack. There is still a downgrade possible in some cases. So we will see a demo. So here we have a specific website that has been, it's a kind of a wiki, specially done for the event of today. And as we can see, it's running in HTTPS. We have also a virtual machine, a Windows 7. It's on a LAN. And we have a Kali Linux on the same LAN. On this Kali Linux, we'll do some ARP poisoning. We are running some tool to do it, very easy. And then the users will connect to the website, but it will not enter the full URL. It will only put the name of the website without the prefix in HTTPS, of course, because everybody is doing like this. As you can see, we have already some hits. Now the user will put his login and passwords. Very interesting to see. It's in HTTP, but there is some lock. We're missing the favicon to play a lock like an HTTP website. You're authenticated, but on the other side, we got your login and passwords. Yes? No, indeed. We just the demo for this event, but there's nothing to do with the event. Okay, so start the possible mitigations. HSTS, it's a header, transport security. Your browser is doing a query in HTTPS, and your web server will answer with header. Thanks to this header, the browser will know it is forced always to connect to the website in HTTPS. You can use this in combination with HTTP redirect, HTTP to HTTPS, and all the future connections will always done in HTTPS until the expiration of the value. If the connection is not possible, like it's blocked by a firewall or by an attacker, there will no downgrade to HTTP possible. Another feature interesting, there is no possibility to bypass, to add an exceptions if the certificate is invalid, like not matching the name of the URL or it's expired. You will not be able to add an exception in your browser. As you can see, no add exceptions button. So this will mitigate the passive spoofing. It will mitigate an attack like we saw with the Raspberry Pi and the Poison Tap, and mitigate also some man-in-the-middle attacks. So let's see now if you want to implement this. I will recommend it. What you can do, first you can choose, you do it for specific domains or subdomains, or you do it for all your domains. If you do it only for one specific domain, I will always recommend you to do it for your domain.com, but also with the www before. Let's talk about the different options that you can implement it. The first one, include subdomains. This will give you the possibility to automatically implement HSTS for all your subdomains. Very interesting features, but you need to have all your websites in HTTPS of your domain. If you have some websites only in HTTP, they will not be accessible anymore. Moreover, you have the possibility to add your websites on a preload list, and this list is supported by most of the browsers. This will mitigate the first attack. TUFO because it's already hard-coded in your browser. This parameter is considered the highest benefit by the Mozilla security sheet, which is a very good website. I recommend you to have a look. Give you many tips to secure your website. So, some questions. How is it still possible to do a man-in-the-middle attack on a website not part of the preload list? Does somebody have an idea? Indeed. Another idea? The expiration? Yeah, indeed. NTP attack, time-based, and the first connections. You get some gift. Another limitations is the question about the privacy. It's possible for a webmaster to implement some specific links and with the subdomains that could be leads to a finger pointing of the browser. We had a look about what's the difference implementation in HSTS in the normal mode and the incognito mode, the private mode. So you know it's when you want to serve some website and you don't really want that it's part of your history. Yeah, it could be some website you don't want your wife, she has a look about it. Then there is a specific private mode of incognito mode in the browser. And we had a look, yeah, if you connect with the normal mode, standard mode, and then you connect in incognito mode, do they share the same cache of HSTS or do they have a separate cache? Depending on the browsers, we can see that it's a different approach. We also look about the different incognito modes. So you have a first window incognito mode and you open a new one. Do they share the same cache? Another features, very interesting, OCSP. So what is OCSP? In HTTPS, the clients need to validate that the server certificate is not revoked. So the typical way of doing it is the CRL, Certification Revocation List. But the problem is a list which is growing and could introduce some latency. OCSP, Online Certificate Status Protocol, it's more light, but requests another query to the OCSP responder. So let's look about its working. You have your browsers doing a query, DNS query, to get the IP address, to connecting to the websites. Then in the website, they will download a certificate. The certificate contains the address of the OCSP responders. The OCSP responders still need a DNS query to get the IP address. And finally, you can do your check and access the website. So what are the limitations? There is a privacy issue because the certification authority with the OCSP responders can potentially track the websites you are visiting. And what's happening if the OCSP responders is not answering? Two possibilities: either you stop, and there is a potential problem of availability, denial of service, or you continue, and then you could connect to some website where the certificate is potentially compromised. What does Firefox today? They implement a way to continue where you can easily change it in your browsers. OCSP stopling, it's another way. It's not the browsers that will initiate the connection, it's the servers. And the advantage is that in one query, you will get your web page, the content of the website you are visiting, but also the confirmation that the certificate is not revoked. HPKP, still another HTTP header. It will bind the certification authority. So in place of visiting a website and any certification authority that are trusted in your browsers are valid, only specific certificate will be allowed to connect will be validated by the browser. There are some different cases of yes, you have a question? Yes, this is correct. Yes. Yes, indeed. We will see it in a few slides. Do you want? Yeah, so there are some fraudulent certificates. We can see different cases over the past years in different countries. But indeed, it's so this is the way you need to implement it. You need to use different keys. It's quite complex to implement. There is a way of reporting incidents. You can put an URL, and the browsers will post some informations. Unfortunately, it's not really supported. You can pin a root or intermediate CA. And there is also a list of piloted certificates. It will not interfere with SSL decryptions. But indeed, there are different limitations. It's not widely supported. First connection remote not protected. You have a problem of hostile pinning that could be lead of a hacker that will install some private key on your website, which is hacked. For customers, they will connect to the website, and then the hacker could delete the keys and force you to pay a ransom to giving you the keys. Otherwise, all your visitors will not be able to visit the website anymore. Yes. Indeed, you could, if you have like PayPal or e-commerce websites, it could be extremely dangerous. So Mozilla recommends to only implement it for maximum risk sites, not recommend for most of the sites. Now, other interesting features, we're not going to go to all the protocols, but PFS, perfect for our secrecy. It's features that allows you to protect the traffic against the future possibility of decryptions of the current stored transactions. You seem to have a good knowledge about this, so I propose you explain it. Yes. Yes. Thank you for your remark. So we have also another certification transparency. It's a framework that will allow you to monitor and log the certification generations. DNSCA, it's a DNS entry, quite interesting, that will only on a few entries to only allow some certification authority to generate a certificate for your domain. So you do a sort of whitelisting of the certification authority that are allowed to generate a certificate for you. It's not mandatory, but unfortunately it has only been recently added to Amazon Route 53, and still not supported by all the DNS providers. So let's see an example how to implement it. So now we did some research about what's the different options and how they are implemented in Luxembourg. To do it, we take the country Luxembourg on alexa.com, but we only took the tld.lu and we look about the different parameters or features and how they're implemented. So for the top 60 of the tld.lu, we have 51 websites in HTTPS. Some are HTTP and HTTPS, and 9 websites in HTTP only. Do you have an idea about how many websites are using HSTS? 0? No, it's more. Let's work in percent. 15. So 15 websites have implemented HSTS. 50%. Quite good apparently compared to what Netcraft wrote about it last year. HPKP, nobody. It's extremely not used. OCSP stapling, 2 websites. DNSCA, 2 websites. PFS, 43. The different algorithms, some are using good implementations, some are still using like SSL version 2 or version 3. Thank you. So now let's discuss a bit about it. How many people in these rooms are webmasters or managing a website? Quite a lot. Do you have a HTTP website only or HTTPS? Did you implement HSTS? Not yet, okay. Good point. Does somebody have a question? Yes, we'll go back to the slide. So the DNSCA, we have the possibility to configure a DNS records, and you will do the list of the certification authority that are allowed to generate certification for you. When somebody will request the certification authority to generate a certificate, the certification authority will do a DNS query, and they will see if they are in the whitelist or not. If you didn't implement it, they will consider it's okay. If you implement it and you're in this whitelist, then they will generate a certificate. If they're not in the whitelist, they will not generate a certificate, and you have the possibility to add an email address, and they will send an incident to the email address we mentioned. Bind supported. Yes. Maybe not the old version, but the last versions are supporting it. You can also mention which which domain you want to use. Subdomains are supported, and you can also also specific entry for the wildcard certificate.
Are there still use cases where you would say, well, you can just use normal regular HTTP, or do you say, well, always enable HTTPS? It's free, you can use. Let's say my daughter wants to have a website with just a picture of her cat. I don't know. You're not exchanging any. Let's say you're not exchanging any critical data whatsoever. Would there still be a use case for just regular HTTP or not?
I will recommend to always use HTTPS and to implement the subdomain. But of course, this is depending about what you want to do, your data classifications, and but it's today extremely easy to enable HTTPS. So I will recommend to do it for your subdomains. Yeah, with Let's Encrypt, you can even get free certificates. So the cost should not be an argument anymore.
Other questions? No, I'm asking like, I was not following exactly, but I think you went through the slides, right? So yeah, any other questions that you have? Not really. So yeah, for me, we heard the sorry, the presentation about checking the email security and email crypto. So some of these newer features, I don't think that does tools like SSL labs check for these kind of settings. For example, what kind of grade do you get with SSL labs if you have HTTPS enabled, for example? Is it going to be a positive thing, negative thing?
So all those features, they are available in SSL Lab, including the NACA, including HPKP, excluding all the rest. If you want to have A+ today, you need to implement HSTS with a long period. For the rest, they will not give you an extra ranking, but only a banner with, like if you have CAA or other stuff, this will be mentioned as an extra banner. Concerning the HPKP, there is a new header that has been published quite recently, and this will not block the connection anymore, but only doing a reporting. Facebook is using it like this.
Okay, so basically the way it will go is we're not going to phase it out. We're just going to make sure that we won't be able to, like if you make a mistake that is called the, I think HTTPS suicide, or if someone holds you ransom. So you think that that's the direction where this, because this is really a debated feature. Like I think just a month ago in Risky Business, there was a full interview just on this feature. So there's quite a debate going on with this. You think that that's the direction where it will go, or we will like phase it out and just back up, like saying, okay, maybe this was not the best idea. So what do you think? What will we have as future for this?
Personally, I think the reporting tag is extremely interesting to use, and it has only advantage. Yeah, I will definitely recommend to implement most of the features. The OCSP stapling is just not giving you extremely high security. It's not just a different way to implement it. But HSTS is certainly something to implement.
Anybody else? Okay, we're a little bit earlier, but I think, I don't know, is the break is already ready there, or it's already done? Yeah, okay, so coffee at least is there, probably snacks or things, yeah. Oh yeah, gift, yeah, let's give out the gifts before we go for a break. Looks like booze. I should have paid more attention, maybe. Nobody told me that that's the present. Yeah. Okay, so if nothing else to add, then let's go for the break. And yeah, what do you want with that battle? Oh, nice. Oh, love. Very good, very good. Thank you very much. So, if you don't have anything else, then we're going to start earlier the break. After the break, we're going to do the summary presentations. We're going to do it on time according to the schedule because the workshop is still ongoing. If you want to take a look, then go for the workshop. They still, I think, wrapping it up. Yeah, other than that, go for the break. And please give a big round of applause for Renaud for the presentation.